What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boys over here at Three Man Weave. I'm your co-host CJ, here with my lovely co-host ZD on this Monday, December 15th night. We just finished up the quarterfinals and the semifinals of the NBA Cup, so we'll be talking about that. Obviously, our teams were in those games, so you'll hear that in our analysis, and we'll be talking about the NBA Cup final preview, and we'll also be talking about the how the Mavericks have been on fire lately,
Yeah.
obviously in these last couple games. But how are you doing tonight, ZD? Obviously, we've been chopping it up for 30, 45 minutes and just catching up, seeing how each other's been. But how are you doing tonight, bro?
I'm good, brother. I'm above ground. Like always say, I think the Lakers got a W yesterday. We have some NBA Cup, previews going on, obviously with the championship between the Spurs and the Knicks. That's really interesting. Thunder ended up taking an L, which is shocking the NBA as of now. A lot of injuries through the league, man, and unfortunately, that's been something that we've all had to go through. Obviously, your team, my team as well, but just noticing a lot of that too. Guys in and out of lineups, not a ton of continuity, but the game is in good hands, man. These two semifinal games that we had, obviously the Knicks played the Magic. I mean, Jalen Brunson, man, just unbelievable what he's doing, and Stephon Castle, Wemby. I know it was a tough loss, but they played great as well. So we got to give hats off to them.
Of course.
But I'm feeling good, bro. I'm doing good. Had a good day. Got to head back to work tomorrow. But I think there's I don't know how long this one will be, but Nuggets and Rockets I think is at 8. So I'm probably gonna watch that after this. But how you doing, my man? How are you feeling?
Feeling good, bro. I went on my little rant earlier about that loss the Thunder took, but besides that, doing good, bro. About to go to the Texans game actually this upcoming weekend with
Yeah.
Zach's. It'll be my first NFL game, so excited to see that. Gonna see my Raiders play in person, which isn't great. So sucks that it's funny. The Thunder have as many losses as the Raiders have wins. So, that's the duality of sports, right? Fandom is crazy. And, just it's going to be cool for me to experience that. Obviously, your Texans are, probably the best defense in the league. So I don't expect us to win. So my expectations are set low. The bar for my standards for them are really low. So if it is a good game, I'm gonna be hype. If we lose, I'm still gonna have a good time, bro, because it's gonna be an experience. And being able to see Sertan and Will Anderson and everyone on the field, bro. It's gonna be dope.
Guys, yeah.
All the dogs out there. So I'm excited. Gonna be in right in the middle, bro. I think Zach, we ended up getting tickets like right behind the end zone. So it's gonna be hype. It's gonna be exciting. I'm ready for that. But yeah, no, man, just excited to talk about this stuff, bro. I'm doing good though. Like you said, Monday started off the week right, just working and went to the gym before this, so I did a little leg day, got a good sweat in, and feeling good, bro. Ready to chop it up with you about some hoops, bro. Super excited.
There you go, man. But yeah, LA, we took L to the Spurs on the 10th, man. We lost 119-132. That dropped us to 17-7 on the season. Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, the whole gang, except, this was the Wemby-less Spurs. We talked about it on the preview, but I mean, these guys came out and immediately attacked us. I think Luka had 35 points. LeBron had 19, 15 rebounds, and 8 assists. He played a great game. I think, it was only our third loss in the last 12 games. So I've come on here and been happy with how we've performed. But I think we trimmed the deficit twice. Once before the end of the half when LeBron had that yam on Luke Cornett. We were actually on stream when that happened, turning
Mm-hmm.
this up, waking
Mm-hmm.
you up a little bit because
Woke
that
me
was the
up for
nightcap
sure.
game.
Yeah.
But hey,
Hey.
come on, man. What's the stats on
Yeah.
that? I think we cut the deficit to 8. I want to say it was 56, 64.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also did that again in the fourth quarter, and we cut it again. Marcus Smart, bro, I mean, throughout the game, I think he hit 3 threes in the first half and then 4 in the second half. My goodness. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, me and you, we were talking about it, bro. Probably one of the better games that we've seen from him in the last 2 years. And
Yep.
unfortunately, it came in L. San Antonio made a 17-2 run and jumped up to an 18-point lead in the second quarter. Castle and Harrison Barnes were exploiting our defense, bro. I talked about this, but Bonzi in the corner, man, just hitting triples. Stephon Castle driving to the paint, getting paint touches. I asked you, TJ, I was like, hey, man, you want to do a little exercise? Count how many paint touches happen in 10, 15 minutes. Like, you'll see, man, how that stuff adds up quick. Unfortunately, our defense, once again, was the Achilles heel of this game. I think Castle had 21 of his 30 points in the second half, too, as well. And De'Aaron Fox, he added 20 points, chipped in, did his thing, had a nice little move on Austin Reeves at the end of the game. Shifty little spin behind the back and got him. And we know Austin Reeves is not the best defender, but he was able to put it in the bucket. And honestly, they maintained a pretty healthy double-digit lead throughout this one. You saw it. I think for the majority of three quarters, we weren't even able to cut it closer than 8. I think we did it twice, like I said, at the second quarter, and then in the fourth quarter. But yeah, man, San Antonio, it was more about them. I would just say our defense and our bench scoring was a major issue in this one. I think LeBron turning back the clock, obviously having that punch out on Luke Cornett, but the 15 boards, 8 assists, just vintage from him. Luka was getting to his spots early, then slowed down in the second half. I think Ayton ended up having a decent game as well. But to lose to the Wemby Spurs, it definitely disappointed me. And I know these are the games that really show the league the type of team that we actually are. And like I know that we can go out and beat the Spurs, especially without Wemby. But when we don't do it in those types of moments, that's where all the negative talk and all that BS comes. And I think JJ was disappointed in our effort, especially on the defensive end. Keldon Johnson as well. I think he had 17 points in that one, 8 boards, had a terrific first quarter. I think he ended up having like 11 or 12 in that first quarter, and just was, again, guys like that are making an impact. We can't allow for that to happen. It's that simple. De'Aaron Fox, that's one thing. Stephon Castle, that's one thing. Those two guys are one of the most dynamic guards in the league right now. But we can't let other guys like a Luke Cornett get offensive rebounds, get to the free throw line. That was another thing that really hurt us in this one. We can't let, Barnesy hit 2-3 triples. We can't let Keldon Johnson score 17 points. And ultimately, man, when Austin Reeves kind of no-shows again, it's tough for us to really be the full team that we are. I mean, he's a part of our big three. I'd say he's second fiddle now in front of LeBron. And when LeBron's carrying that much of a load, it's just tough for us to do anything. So took a loss in that one, 132-119. Without Wemby there, it was a good test for us. And unfortunately, we came up short. And that's been the theme of the season for me, man, is in these big games, we haven't been able to. I was telling you that on stream, too. We just haven't been able to get it done. When we played the Thunder, we ended up losing by almost 40 points. Or we were losing almost by 40 points. We lost by like 20-something. But that effort just, it's not very good. We ended up getting a flex game, though, on Sunday. This was yesterday, I think on the 14th. The reason this game was flexed, though, is CJ and I were kind of talking through it. Because they were the two teams that lost in the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. So the Suns and the Lakers had a flex game that was pushed on Sunday. We ended up getting a W, man. It was a close one, though, 116-114. I'll kind of go into the end of this one, though. I think that's where all the drama really was. I know LeBron made 2 free throws with 3.9 seconds left. I think Luka. There was a play. So LeBron gave up. So Dylan Brooks hit a 3 in LeBron's face. Dylan Brooks, the entire game, to give you guys some context, was just, Dylan Brooks, his antics all over the place. LeBron and him got technical fouls earlier in the second quarter because they were arguing. So Dylan Brooks hits a clutch 3 to push it, I think they'll push the lead to 1 or 2, and bumps LeBron James, gets up in his face. He had already received a technical foul from earlier, gets another one, so he gets thrown out. LeBron, for some reason, goes and shoots the technical free throw. I don't know why he did that, but he ended up missing that. And kind of previous to that, I think Dylan Brooks, Gillespie, Grayson Allen as well, they had went on a 12-0 run to cut the lead. I mean, pretty much they came back when they were almost down. I think they were down 16 at one point in the fourth quarter. So they cut it pretty close and then took the lead. Anyways, LeBron went to go shoot the technical free throw. Luka didn't step to the line. I don't know why. LeBron missed the shot. The Suns came back down. I think, was it Dunn or I think it was Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn drove, gave it to Oso Eudoro. I think Dylan Brooks was able to, or not Dylan Brooks, sorry, Gillespie swung it to Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen pump faked and like drove, laid it up, missed it. We grabbed the ball, and LeBron was driving on the other side of the court, made a little move, got to the paint, got fouled. That's why he was shooting the free throws at 3.9. And we ended up taking the lead by 2, so it must have been a 1 point lead. But crazy game kind of down the stretch. I think ultimately, though, Luka Doncic, I mean, he was like 7 of 20 something from this game, 2 of 12 from the 3 point line. It was Luka TV show for pretty much the entire first half. He had 14 points in the first half, second half, 15, but on way less efficient shooting. He ended up hitting a 3 in the second half, which is really what gave him the 29 points. Yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like we're barely scraping by. The theme that I got from this game, especially early in the second half, was our bench was really doing a lot better. Jackson Hayes had this crazy dunk in the third quarter on Oso Ighodaro. It's like a two-headed like poster, kind of put it behind his head, yammed it. Jake LaRavia had a couple good driving kicks, but mainly he was ready to spot up and shoot, hit those threes. You know, he hasn't been hotline bling recently. He's been much more quiet over the last month or so, but he had a really good game in this one. And then, of course, you know, we got Marcus Smart diving on basketballs. We have, you know, Austin Reeves wasn't in this matchup, so we did need LeBron to do a little bit more of the scoring. I think LeBron finished with 26 points, but he ended up making those free throws. I think Grayson Allen on the ensuing possession, going back to the fourth quarter, ended up doing one of those like he had a highlight earlier in the week. He did like a pump fake step through. He tried to do the same thing, but he ended up clanking it, and so that's how we were able to get the W. I think you know the pace of the game. Devin Booker cooking came back from the injury, had like 15 points in that first quarter, and then kind of cooled off as the game went along. I think in the fourth quarter he had 8 points. He ended up finishing with like 20 something points. Um, I don't know, bro. It's like I'm happy with the W, but I'm kind of getting tired of saying that because at the same time, I don't think we should have won this game. I think we got a little bit lucky, and Jordan Goodwin and the Suns have so many pieces that we're playing great, and they probably deserve to win. If it wasn't for the Dylan Brooks mistake, they probably would have won. Momentum was definitely on their side going in that fourth quarter, and especially like as they were cutting the lead down. And I think Dylan Brooks getting thrown out was really what changed the course of the game. But I'll take the W's where I can. I'm honestly not too happy with how my team has played over the last couple games. I think from like a actual NBA title championship contender standpoint, we're not there yet. Our record is 18-7. We look like we're there. But if you've been watching the Lakers, I know you probably agree with me that games like this, again, where we blow 14, 16 point leads in the fourth quarter when we were once up by 20 in the third, like that just can't happen. Kind of similar to the Spurs. If we want to be a championship contending team, we can't be not defensively connected. We can't not show effort. We can't give up the game when we're up 20. Like these are things that the Thunder don't do, and a lot of the great teams in the NBA right now aren't doing. You know, the Nuggets, the Rockets, everybody. So I think I'm expecting more from us. I went through the schedule with you before we hopped on, but Jazz, Clippers, Suns again on the 23rd. We have that big game on Christmas Day as well. But these next 3 games, man, looking for defense. I know the Jazz aren't great, but we'll probably end up barely beating them. Clippers aren't great as well, but we should beat them. But those LA battles are always tough. And the Suns, man, they're kind of our Achilles heel. I feel like they are a better team than us right now, but their record doesn't show it. And every time we play, man, it's a close matchup. And yeah, it was a good game yesterday, but I think I was more excited from what I saw from the bench as opposed to what I saw from the starters. I think Jared Vanderbilt being in the rotation was nice to see. Had some, nice steals, some nice blocks. Hit a 3 as well. Why not 3 in the corner? That was nice to see. But yeah, hopefully they can get it figured out, man. We are not 24-2. We are not, I was planning on doing contender pretender pretty soon, but I don't think the Lakers are contenders right now, and that's it's not doesn't make me too happy, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. It's crazy because we were talking about it too, like you said, why it was flexed, and they're a team that's in your division. So you're gonna be seeing them. You saw them one more extra game than which we usually play them. So it's interesting. I feel like, what I mean, like the Suns, obviously, I'll get into it whenever I talk about the Thunder in the quarterfinals that we had against the Suns, but just what they've been able to do, with the ragtag group of guys, we talk about all the time, right? It seems like they're, finding their identity and finding out how to each contribute to winning basketball games, so it's, or obviously they lost this past one, but competing in these games when, expectations for the season really weren't that. So it's dope to see because, we talked about them last year a lot with, getting Beal and obviously KD being there and what that looked like, and it didn't really work out, and didn't even make the playoffs. Now they're kind of in the contest for a playoff spot. So it's interesting, bro. It's I like it. I like seeing just all the whole league kind of, being able to contribute to competitive basketball, throughout the whole
Oh
year.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
interesting.
Jordan Ott coached a hell of a game down the stretch. That's why they were able to come back. Called a big timeout, stopping up one of our runs. Luka came in, I think it was 95-77 in that fourth quarter. And after he had called that timeout, they just came out blitzing. Like I
Mhm.
said, I mean, threes from Grayson Allen and Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks has been a revelation for them. And honestly, probably their best player
Mhm.
for in terms of expectation wise, blowing that out of the park. When you do see Jalen Green, he looks good, but he hasn't touched the court. Devin Booker looks great. Yeah, I mean Jordan Knott's a hell of a coach, and you got to give props to Matt Ishbia for finding a new nucleus, you could say, and rebuilding from scratch, man. When they were in the second apron last year, so good
Mhm.
for them.
Shout out to the Suns, bro. But kind of, piggybacking off of that, the Thunder played two games as well. They were both the NBA Cup games, so not much to talk about for this first game. We ended up beating the Suns I had it up 138-89. So blew them out. We were live on assists, so we were able to watch this game, and then your Lakers going against the Spurs. So kind of was just one. It was a one of those typical Thunder games, right, where they just kind of blitzed them, caused a lot of turnovers. We were making our shots this game, shot 55% from the three. So I think it kind of translate into the game, but I mean, I think this is going to be where my talking points really are at. We advanced to the semifinals for the NBA Cup, going against the Spurs, who beat your Lakers. Man, this game was crazy, bro. So let me set the vibe for y'all. So shout out to Cam and Kat. They just got engaged. Shout out to them. The theories are in the building. You know what I'm saying? So ended up going to my homie's
Shout out
Drake's
to Cam,
house.
man.
We watched the game there, and then ended up going to East Six halftime. So I was watching it on my phone for a good portion of the game, and then we ended up going to a bar where they had it playing right behind the DJ as people were vibing, dancing, having a good time. And I was telling you, Z, I was like, bro, I was stressed. Like it felt like the intensity and the competitiveness of this game. It felt like a playoff game. Carlos actually
Yeah,
texted me. He's like,
totally,
bro, like this feels like a playoff intensity. I'm like, yeah, bro, like
totally.
crazy game. But really what I want to I'll say something for whenever they came back. I think they were down by 15. They go on a 10-0 run in the second quarter. Um Pushes it to like a 5-point game, and then from that point on, that's when the game really started going, got intense. First quarter, Spurs were 0 for 11 from 3 with like 5 minutes left in the first, I think, so they weren't really knocking down their shots. We
It was
was missing
horrible.
everything. We were
Both
knocking
teams
down our
were.
shots. We were playing good defense. Uh Obviously, this is Wemby's return. Of course, he returns against the Thunder. Um, I actually placed a bet on him, not realizing, I should have, minutes restrictions, right? But didn't think of that. I just thought, oh, he's gonna go. Didn't play that whole first quarter. I think comes into the second quarter, immediately makes an impact, or like gets a bucket right off the rip, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's gonna be one of those games, bro. So really, I'm a fast forward. It was really down to the wire up into the fourth quarter, but this is when I really wanted to take some notes. 20
Yeah,
seconds left in the fourth quarter, right? we are down by one. It's or we're sorry, we're down by three. It was 103 to 106. Spurs are up. There's 20 seconds left. Shea just dribbles down the court. They leave the paint open, gets a dunk. I was talking to you about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Looking back at the recap of the game and stuff, I don't think
They were in
that
the bonus.
they were.
You remember?
Yeah, they
I
were.
think both teams were
Yeah, they were at
too.
that point because yeah, it was like a yeah. I think it was a at that time we were in the bonus for sure. But go down there, get a quick bucket, uh, cut the game to one, so it's 106, 105 with 20 seconds
Yeah.
left. And at this point, it turned into a free throw shootout. Mitch Johnson's smart coaching to foul early so the Thunder couldn't get up 3-pointers was, hats off to him. He coached a hell of a game. I think it was definitely wasn't expecting that. I'm assuming, Coach Dayton didn't expect them to just automatically foul and not really get an opportunity, but it was smart of them to do that because, like I said, going back to that play when we were down by three, when, obviously could have lost the game earlier and it wouldn't have been as intense, but looking back at it, me personally, obviously I'm not an NBA coach. I just watch basketball, in my free time, and we just happen to have a podcast and talk about it. But, looking back at it, I wish we probably would have drew up a play and just would have went for the three. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
especially the way everything went. Obviously misses and other things happened along, but that it just would have made the game a little less stressful for me. But I get it, right? You're trying to get a quick 2 for 1, essentially, right? And because you're probably not expecting to, Mitch Johnson just to foul them right away, so they don't even have an opportunity. But that being said, Chet is at the free throw line with 8 seconds left, down by three, 105, 108. Spurs are up, obviously. Ends up going 1 for 2 at the line, misses the first one. Wemby yells, he's like, let's go. That
Yeah.
didn't sit right with me, of course. I talk highly of the Spurs, so I don't want anyone saying I'm a hater. I just look back at the old podcast, bro. I've been talking really highly of y'all, so it's not even out of me just being salty. It's just the history that the Spurs and Thunder have. I think people forget. A lot of time has passed since the Spurs were really competitive. Playoff basketball team, but we have a lot of history, bro. A lot of those Western Conference Finals, so don't like the Spurs at all. So that did not sit right with me. I'm like, fuck, of course, Chet was 9 for 10 at the line as well. I think he's like a 80% free throw shooter. Ends up missing that first one. Wemby yells, like I said. Chet makes the second one. We foul Wemby. He's at the free throw line with 6 seconds left. He goes 1 for 2. So it's like, a little bit of karma, right? So
Yeah.
the Spurs are up 109 to 106 at this point, because if he would have made both of those, they would have been up 4. Ended up being up 3. J-Dub gets fouled with 3.7 seconds left, makes the first one, and tried to miss the second, and actually makes it. So, like I said a little bit, I told you earlier, mishaps at the free throw line. Obviously, we only missed 3 free throws for the whole game. J-Dub tried to miss one, ends up making it, so it turns it to a free throw shootout, bro. Just you're betting on them missing one. You're betting on you having to make one and miss one. So going back to what I said earlier, that's why I think taking that 3 personally, I get it at that spur of the moment. You're just trying to get a quick bucket, not expecting to turn into a free throw shootout, but ended up being that. Fast forwarding it, right? That questionable foul call, bro, on Caruso. It was off of an inbound to Devin Vassell, and Vassell ends up making both of them. So they're up 111, 108. And then they immediately foul J-Dub. He goes 1 for 2. And then there's another questionable no call on Caruso as he tried to tip it in. I think you talked about it. You ended up looking at what is it called? The 2-minute
2-minute report.
2-minute
Yeah. The ref.
report. And they said they missed the call. Obviously, it is what it is, right? It's only our second loss of the season. It's not something to, are the Thunder are they not a good basketball team now? I mean, obviously, I think that's a stupid thing to say if that's what y'all are saying, but I think it was just a hell of a game from the Spurs, bro. Honestly, I think they had
Yeah.
four players with 20 or more points. Obviously, Wemby returned. We see what they can be. The thing that I was really most impressed though with them was just the defense that they had, bro. Obviously, with Wemby on the court, he makes such a huge difference. But even when he wasn't, those minutes without Wemby, you had Stephon Castle making 360 layups, hitting, timely buckets, getting to the rim, and playing good defense. Devin Vassell shooting lights out. So it was just I would say this is probably one of the best games we've had this season. We talked about that earlier, just down to the wire, playoff intensity, super intense. Just, man, I'm stressed out. Mind y'all, I'm in the club, right? I'm watching this game.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
DJ's playing some Pitbull
yeah,
and
it's not,
shit. I'm like kind of
yeah,
vibing, but like
not
stressed
at
out.
home.
Yeah, so it just
Yeah,
it was tough, bro. I'm not gonna lie. And then of course we're in Austin, bro. So there's San Antonio fans. As I was watching the game on my phone, right? Like waiting in line to get into the club, like show the bouncer my ID. There's some dudes behind me. He's like, "Oh, what's the score?" And then I tell him the score, and they're like, "Man, I hope that they're like, are the Spurs winning?" I was like, "Yeah, sadly." They're like, "Sadly." I'm like, "Yeah, bro." I was like, "Look at my." I was wearing my Thunder championship hat. I'm a Thunder fan, bro. I was like, "I don't care." They're like, "Ah." They're like, "Okay, okay." And then I ended up seeing them later after the game. They're like, "Bro, good game." And I'm a good sport. I was a little salty, of course, but I'm like, "Yeah, bro, y'all hooped. Y'all, it was a great game." But bro, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not gonna lie. But like
yeah,
I
of
said,
course
I'm a good
not.
sport. I've been in those type of environment way worse than that. So obviously, I was at
Yeah.
that Thunder series against the Mavs when we lost in six.
Oh
So
man,
I've been in those environments before. So it's nothing new to me. But just
hostile.
it's just the way that we lost, bro. I was telling you about it. It reminded me a lot of our other loss this season, actually, against the Trailblazers. Free throw line. Trying to get a tip in. You got to make one and then miss one and try to get the ball. So obviously, we're I don't even want to say like that we're not unbeatable, right? Obviously, but from what we've seen throughout this whole season, it seems like that. But just the off of those two losses, the way that I've seen it go down, if you play us physical, obviously we had an off game from the three. We ended up shooting like 29%, 24% from the three. So it was an off night. It's one of those games. I think that is how you can beat us. Obviously, you have to play great defense, and we just, I mean, obviously, right? It kind of makes sense just not knocking down our threes, but a lot goes into that. I think it's just how aggressive teams play us. It seemed like they weren't really backing down, the Spurs. We were being physical with them, and they were still attacking us regardless of. I feel like a lot of teams, when we play so physical, they are kind of complaining to the refs, like, "Hey, like, what's, that's a foul, that's a foul." But they were just kind of playing through it. So I think there is a formula to beat us, obviously. It's just, if can you replicate that in a playoff series? And that's where I haven't seen that happen this season. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
haven't seen a team that could potentially do that. Obviously, there's teams that can do that, but I just haven't seen it in the season so far. Obviously, like you said, we're 24-2, but man, it's just one of those games, bro. Wemby's comments afterwards in the post game didn't sit right with me as a Thunder fan. He said, we play basketball the right, ethical, and not like those guys. And then he didn't say Chet's name, but we assumed it was about Chet when he said, "Oh yeah, there's other players that thrive in those type of moments. And there's other players that." Shrivel away, or whatever he said within
Sleep away or
yeah,
something. I'm like,
within those lines. And I'm like, as a Thunder fan, after what we've done this season, after what we did last season, I thought that was just
not, not
not
tasteful.
it. Yeah, I just, like, have you not seen what we've been doing this season? Obviously, yes, you beat us, but y'all have so much more to prove. Um, Wemby, you're barely on the court. I love you as a player. What you do is incredible. Obviously, we know your story. We know what you've done, but you haven't done anything in the league yet. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I was at when he said that. But as a basketball fan, I appreciated it. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things where, yeah, we're the top dog, and rightfully so, you beat us. But I just look at it as if we're in a playoff series, would y'all be able to do that 4 times and get the best of us 4 times? I don't think so personally. But the way y'all played this game, y'all obviously found out a way how to beat us. But up to this point, bro, it just is one of those things where I don't think we're gonna have an off night like that. We may not be shooting the greatest every game, but we only lost this game by 2, mind y'all. It's not like they blew us out or anything. You know what I mean? So comments like that kind of rub me the wrong way as a Thunder fan personally. So I had to take my fandom out of it and just look at it as a basketball fan. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, because what Wemby
Yeah,
can be and what the Spurs can be, I was talking about this last 2 years ago. You know what I mean? I was
for
saying that
sure,
they're
for
gonna be
sure.
good. So it's not. I'm not surprised in a sense, right? But I was surprised that we shot terrible from three, like because we've seen games where the Thunder aren't making their 3-point shots and they shoot sub 30% from the 3-point line and still able to scrape out with wins. And this one, like I said, it just really boils down to the defense that they played, and then obviously Mitch Johnson's coaching, in the last 30 seconds of the game, because I don't
Yeah,
I don't think, we expected to just foul before you could get a shot up,
100%.
but great game to the Spurs,
Yeah, bro.
I'm
Of
not gonna
course.
say I'm rooting for y'all, because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want the Knicks to win. I would rather see Jalen Brunson, get a trophy. But I hope it's a great game. And like I said, man, it's just comments like that, as a Thunder fan, just rub me the wrong way. We just have proven to the league, and we put everyone on notice that we are the best team in the league, and we still are. I don't think that's really one loss, or not even gonna say we're gonna go on a stinker or nothing, but theoretically, if we do, it's just one of those things where I think people need to appreciate the moment, right? Because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. But also, don't forget who the Thunder are. I feel like it's one of those things where, yeah, y'all got us this time, but we're playing them twice. We play them back to back, the 23rd and then on Christmas. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. So if Spurs fans haven't been talking crazy to me yet, but if they do, don't
Yeah,
trust me. I'm gonna have some receipts, bro. So that if we end up splitting these next two or whatever, it's gonna be it's a rivalry, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's brewing. They've been trying to push it on us, the Chet and Wemby, and Wemby blocked Chet this past game, so he got the best of him in that situation, and then he missed, and Wemby misses too. So it's one of those things where it's just we just gotta wait and see, bro. I love it. It's one of those. I've been very privileged as a Thunder fan to not have to talk about losses a lot, obviously, but that one just who it was. I have friends that like the Spurs. Like I said, no one talking crazy to me, but I think people know. If you watch hoops, you understand it. It's they just had a great game. Probably one of the greatest games that they've had all season. Obviously, taking us down, that's probably their highlight of this season. But I think it's one of
yeah.
those where you just got to take a step back and actually don't forget who the Thunder are, bro. I know you don't, and I know fans of the sport don't, but I'm looking at the comments. They're like, "Oh yeah, Wemby this, Wemby that." I'm like, "Yeah, no, Wemby's good, bro, but is he gonna be able to play in the playoffs?" You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what I
We'll
gotta see
see.
it. I gotta see it, bro. I am not doubting Wemby. You know what I mean? We talk highly of all basketball players in this league, but when it's up against my team, when you're talking crazy, I gotta stand up for the boys, and you know what I mean, just stuff like that. I just gotta take a step back sometimes and realize that we have a basketball podcast, and we gotta come on here, try to be as unbiased as we can, but
Yeah, like
talking
as
crazy like
civil.
that, it's like
Yeah, I hate the Spurs, man. I'm a Lakers fan. Like
I
I hate the Spurs.
that's what
I
I'm
think,
saying.
but they're they're good,
Mhm.
but
They're good.
I don't
They
know.
played a great game. Like I said, I'm not too salty. Like I said, took a step back.
They're better than us, but
But yeah, no, it was a great game, bro. Like I said, nonetheless, ended up getting the best of us, and now they're in the NBA Cup Finals. So shout out to them, shout out to the Knicks as well, and yeah, hopefully it's a good matchup. I can't wait
Yeah,
to talk
I
see
don't
it
think
tomorrow.
they're contenders this year, but
Yeah.
I think I'd rather see the Knicks win for like a couple reasons. One of them is Brunson, but mainly I just think the Knicks timeline for like how much room they have to operate with is just way shorter.
Oh,
Like the
100%.
Spurs will be good for the next 5 to
5 years.
10 years, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think the Knicks are probably looking at 2 to 3 years here of
Mhm.
runway, and then after that, it'll be cooked. So
Mhm.
hopefully, we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, just unbelievable basketball. NBA Cup has been awesome all the way through, and what a privilege it's been. Even though with the losses and not being in the finals, which I thought the Thunder would easily go there, but it's weird having we don't have a team in
Mhm.
the finals this year, so we're just watching as pure fans, which is awesome. And Brunson obviously putting up 40 against the Magic, and that game was great too. Jalen Suggs and Paolo Banchero obviously getting to it a little bit later, and Cat getting a punch out. Just a lot of good basketball. So I'm thankful, and I got to take the W's where I can get them. Like I said, we barely beat the Suns, and we got pissed on by the Spurs, but I got to take each win,
Mhm.
as the season goes on, and I think we're more than a quarter of the way through, so
Mhm.
it's kind of flying by. You'll blink and it'll be gone. So we got to appreciate moments like this. But I want to hear what you think about it. I think the injuries have been a big thing this year, more than I would want, but um, and it's going to impact the playoffs. It's going to impact the playoff seeding for sure.
100%.
These guys and more importantly the accolades, right?
Accolades.
The All
Mhm.
NBA and all that. So what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. I feel like, we've been seeing a lot of Achilles, calf injuries, just injuries in general. It sucks, man, cuz obviously we want to be able to see all these teams at full strength. That's usually not how it goes, but this year specifically, I feel like there's been so many to where, obviously it goes one way or the other, right? You either get a injury to a star player and you completely fall off the bridge, or you get an injury to a star player and you end up finding one of your young guys that are stepping up, like the Hawks, for instance. But more likely than not, your team probably isn't going to be able to do that, just depending on how they're built. But it just sucks, bro. You know what I mean? Like we've been seeing it a lot in the NFL as well, just a whole bunch of injuries that are impacting teams and their playoff hopes. But it's just one it sucks, but I think, I was reading
Yeah,
this thing on Twitter. It was something about seeing a lot of calf injuries lately and Achilles, obviously. It's because of the stop and go movements that we do now. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
It causes so much strain on your calf, and then obviously if you get a calf injury, more than likely you're more likely to get an Achilles injury because it's all connected, right? So it was very interesting to see because I feel like we never really. I mean, we've seen Achilles injuries, right? But I feel like within the past 5 years, like that's the main injury that a lot of people are getting,
everyone has
or
one, right?
or or a,
Yeah,
or a calf sprain or something. So it sucks. Like, I mean, obviously it's the fast twitch movements. It's very stop on the dime, quick cuts, and obviously that's how you injure those type of your body part. But it
we,
sucks. It sucks to see. It's not the
the
greatest.
pod that we the pod. So my bad. The pod that
Rip.
we dropped where we did all 30 teams that hasn't dropped yet, right?
No, not
So I
yet.
forgot what we said about the Cavs. I think Donovan Mitch. I don't know. I just know that their injuries have impacted them all year.
I'm
Like
pretty sure
it's not.
that's what we said. And obviously
Yeah,
they just made a more of an impact with Mobley
yeah, with
getting down.
Mobley, but
But
yeah,
yeah, no,
it like
it's
they've been Struce has been out all year. Garland's in and out of the
in and
lineup
out.
all the time.
Jared
Like
Allen's in and out.
they're I think we said it like because they're in the second apron, like they're just in a tough spot, and
Hmm.
the league is in general. Like you brought up, all these injuries have been really tough. I mean, what do you think will happen with Giannis? We know he's hurt right now with a calf injury as well. You think he'll get traded before the deadline? Or?
Um. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they got to shop him for sure. They got to see what they could get out of him because the rumblings. But it's just crazy how that happened, right? I don't think we've even talked about that. He said he doesn't want to be on the team, and then literally that same night he ends up messing up his calf. It's just crazy how that works. But yeah, I mean, if that's he realized, I mean, I think he gave him enough time, right? Quarter of the season, see where they stack up in the Eastern Conference, and a weak Eastern Conference, mind you. Obviously, we're getting ascending teams, young teams that are kind of figuring it out now. But this is kind of beginning of the season, right? Off-season files leading into the year. We were kind of talking about what the Bucks can be. Obviously, with Giannis on a team, you can't really count them out. But up into this point, it's like it's not really turning into wins. So I think he kind of sees the writings on the wall, right? Just kind of where they stack up again in the Eastern Conference. Just I say yes. Where he goes and
No,
who
you
he
don't
gets.
need. You're
Yeah,
not
I just
gonna.
I don't know honestly, but yeah.
It'll be it'll be a big market team, and we won't know until we see that notification because it'll be a lot of assets.
Yeah, I was about to say, do
And
you think it's like a is it gonna have to be like a
but
3-team trade type of
yeah, probably a
situation?
3-team trade. Yeah,
Because like I mean,
with
you got to think big market teams, they're all pretty good right now. They
yeah,
probably
yeah,
don't have they probably
the
do have
cap.
their future assets and stuff, but they're not going to be the greatest. So do the Bucks really want that? And then they also don't have like the salary or the cap space to be able to bring in. Obviously, they could switch and swap, but yeah, I think it's like you said, it's gonna be one of those blockbuster trades where we're like, oh, okay, that's who
I
they
think
got.
I think well the Knicks traded their picks, but like if you took like the Bucks are looking at it like these teams will be good for the next 3 to 5 years, but if once those 2031s become available and all these ones were like, man, the Knicks in 6 years are gonna be
Are
shit.
be trash? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
like or like whenever those do become available, it'll make it easier to trade Giannis. I actually don't know if it'll happen before this deadline.
Mm,
Here's why. I think it'll be hard to trade Giannis.
that's
It'll
it.
just be hard.
Mm-hmm,
The injury makes it hard.
mm-hmm,
The cap space, the amount of money he's making, and then the commitment you have to make on top of that. Because I think you're gonna have to re-sign him to $300 million, and that's gonna take a lot on your books. And I just wonder what team is gonna be willing to take a gamble on it, And you have to be. He is in the East, so him being traded to a Western like the Western Conference would shake up that conference even more, right? You have to think about inter trade conferences, how those inter conference trades, how those things impact the league. I don't know, man. I think the Cavaliers are kind of purgatory. We saw them lose to the Hornets. I think the Bucks are in purgatory. There's a couple teams that are just sitting in between right now. A lot of teams in the East, which I wanted to touch on them just for a second because we obviously it's West. Our teams are West. We'll talk about the Cup Championship, which has both sides, both conferences. But I know some people that watch us are Cavs fans, or
mm-hmm,
Bucks fans or whatever. So I know we haven't spoken about Giannis or obviously Mobley. I think
mm-hmm.
Jared Allen's coming back. Garland's been in and out of the lineup. Like they just don't have their core, so they can't. Donovan Mitchell's playing at an All NBA level. I think we said that too in that pod that hadn't dropped, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they can get it figured out. Like both those teams, I think it'll be really hard to trade Giannis, and just in the landscape that the Eastern Conference is currently in, you got to ask yourself, like, is he more valuable on our team? Just being on, like, is he more valuable to us than to other people? Because when you trade for Giannis, you're gonna have to shift your whole team towards him. It's gonna mess up some chemistry things, and guys are gonna have to get used to playing on a new team if that was the case.
Mm.
But
Yeah. No, yeah, I
what
agree. And like you said, that contract, bro. Obviously, you could try to trade certain players to match it, but it's tough. Like you said, the more that we talked about it, yeah, it's gonna be really hard to find a trade because you gotta think who's going to be willing to have Giannis go to a X team that probably isn't a position to win basketball. So it's gonna be interesting, but we'll see. How do you know how long off the top of your head he's gonna be out for? I could look it up. I just didn't.
I think it was 2 to 4 weeks.
2 to 4 weeks. So that, like you said, that's obviously something that we got to think about too. Is a team willing to
Yeah,
do that? Trade someone
for
that
sure.
is coming off of an injury or whatever it may be.
We'll see. Yeah,
Obviously, it's
they used.
Giannis, but
It's Giannis. Yeah, it's Giannis. So, and the Luka Doncic trade, I mean, I hate to go back to that, but it just makes everything so jaded because
hmm
anything can happen. I think if Luka can get traded, Giannis could easily be traded, right?
yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Speaking of the Mavericks, though, they're kind of on fire right now. I'll let you do the preview for the Cup, but yeah, we spoke about it in their game preview against the Jazz, but they're 5-1 over the last 6 games. We don't really talk about the Mavs too much, so we're bringing them up now. They've seemed to find some offensive answers that they've been lacking. Like you said, they have 122.2 offensive rating over the last 5 games. That's sixth in the NBA over that span. They've picked up great wins, and this is where, honestly, CJ, this is where what shocked me, and this is why the Mavericks, to me, are one of the better teams in the Western Conference over the last 5 games. Mind you, I said over the last 5 games. They've beat the Rockets, the Nuggets, and the Heat. All three of those teams are playoff teams who have, top 15 net ratings in the NBA,
Mm.
right? I think you said it. Cooper Flag's averaging 20 and 5 over his last 5 games. Seems to be way more comfortable getting to his spots, just not playing point guard, being more efficient. And then playing pick and roll with Anthony Davis has been good for him, man. Just playing that forward to big pick and roll, it's dangerous if you got a guy that's able to do that. Anthony Davis, obviously, the trade rumors have been swirling that he might go to Detroit, but Detroit would probably have to give up Duren, which is a no. Um, I think AD could is more likely to be traded than a Giannis, just based off of the fact that I think Dallas wants to move off of that asset to kind of just get rid of that Luka Doncic and Nico Harrison saga once and for all. But they've looked to players like Ryan Nembhard, Brandon Williams. Ryan Nembhard's a rookie on a two-way a two-way contract right now. I think he's their starting point guard, overtaking D'Angelo Russell. I think he's getting 8 points a game right now and averaging 4.8 assists. That assist mark, second in the NBA for rookies. He's playing 24 minutes a night. Can they remain jolly, man? The holiday spirit is in Dallas as of now. Nico Harrison gone. We spoke about them a month ago or so since he was fired, and they've looked to turn it around, man. The torch is burning hot right now. Najee Marshall's playing good. PJ's playing good. I think Jason Kidd deserves a lot of credit for turning around this roster, man, and making it more of an impact. I think they're 10th in the West right now, which is probably where they should be and most likely where they'll end up. And there's nothing wrong with that. If they're able to make the play and have a good draft pick still, I think this is the last year they'll have their picks. So it is important for them to remember that. The reason they don't have their picks is why, CJ, they had Luka and they went all in and traded Luka.
Mm-hmm.
So it does hurt the timeline a little bit. But that's why finding guys like Ryan Nembhard, Brandon Williams, even the trade that kind of went under the radar, or an addition, the Najee Marshall addition has been great. That was Nico Harrison's camp as well. But finding guys like that can provide you some value in short spurts and give you 8 to 12 points a night. That's how you build out a team around a guy like Cooper Flag, who will undoubtedly. I mean, he's doing this stuff at 18, so by the time he's 20, he'll probably be getting 20, 25 a game, playing being a two-way star in this league. Love what I'm seeing from Dallas, man. Again, I'm not a Dallas fan, and I'm a Lakers fan, so I have a rivalry with Dallas. I'll take you guys back. I think there was a game-winning shot that Dirk had hit. Kobe was out. He was on the bench, and Dirk hit a fadeaway, and he turned to Kobe and dapped him up because Kobe was like, "Yep,
Yep,
that's
that's
what
what he
happens."
does. Yeah.
We don't send two, and so that's just a picture I have in my head, of that kind of mini rivalry. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Mavericks fan, but seeing what they've done over the last 6 games, you got to give credit where credit is due, and they're in a play-in spot now, man. So they're able to make the playoffs or the play-in. You can't say that that's a failure of the year, especially with all these injuries that they've had. So I know you're not a Mavericks fan either, but I know you've been watching enough NBA to see what they've been doing.
Of course, yeah. No, I mean, I brought it up, and that my memory of the Dallas Mavericks is losing that conference semifinal game. So yeah, I agree, bro. Like, not a fan, but just being able to see what they've been able to do, especially after the whole Luca and then Nico firing and this and that. It seems like they've been hit with everything, right? But I think it's
Exactly.
they're trending in the right direction, and seeing them actually figure out how to win games, it just makes it more interesting, because they're there. Obviously they've been one of the best defensive teams in this league, but the fact that they're over their last 5, they kind of figuring out how to do it on the offensive side as well. Just it shows that they're gonna be here for a minute, bro. Cooper Flag is, like you
Yeah,
said, only
yeah.
18, and he's only gonna get better. So It's good to see, bro. Not a Mavs fan either, but I can appreciate, good basketball being played. So shout out to them because, this time last year. Oh no, my fault. Not this time last year. February of last year, it was the worst time of
Oh
Mavericks
man.
fans' life. So the
Oh
fact
my
that they're,
goodness.
turning it around a little bit, Cooper Flag's kind of turning into what we expected. It's great to see.
Yeah, dude, I like that. I think you did a good job of saying that as well. But just from where they were almost a full year, calendar year, it'll be that in February of next year. It's it's good. Patrick Dumont's got a lot of flack this year. I think he deserves it, but he's turning that corner of doing the right things now. So now it's just about putting it all together. But yeah, like even trying to get NBA Cup experience. I know they crapped out this year. Obviously, they weren't competitive in that, but just trying to hit milestones, throughout the year. I think that's what the Thunder. Obviously, the Thunder are going to get a season highlight. Their 16-game win streak, longest in franchise history, second best start since the Warriors, 24-0. Like they have all these milestones, quote unquote, right? And I
Mhm.
think the Mavericks need to try to acquire that, even if it's not, they're not the number one team in the league. That's not necessarily what you need to do to be,
Mhm.
to be a competitive team. So they just got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Going into our next topic, man, we got the Spurs versus Knicks in the NBA Cup Championship. On Tuesday, the Spurs and the Knicks are both playing in their first NBA Cup final. The Knicks are currently on fire on offense, scoring 126 points per 100 possessions over their last 5 games. And the Spurs, did I say the Spurs? I meant the Knicks, if that's what I said.
Like
I
you
said
said, you
I
said the
said
Knicks.
Knicks. Okay, my bad. I just
Yeah.
was thinking of the Spurs. My bad. And I'm not gonna say that. My bad. The Spurs rank 11th in the
I
NBA in
know.
defense over their last 3 games, allowing just 113.2 points per game per possession. Jalen Brunson is averaging 35 points per game and shooting 56% from the field and 42% from three over his last couple games. The Spurs, however, defeated the Thunder 111-109. We talked about that earlier today in this episode to reach the NBA Cup championship. And Wemby scored 22 points and had 9 rebounds in his return. Stephon Castle has arrived and is averaging 23-7 over his last 3 games. Could this be the best NBA Cup final yet? Obviously,
Did
Knicks,
it?
Knicks, Brunson
Yeah.
Burner, Wemby Spurs, the Alien, Area
Yeah.
51. I think this might be, bro. I think this is gonna be a really good game. Like I said, taking
Dude,
all my Thunder bias fan out of the picture, just looking at it as a basketball fan and doing a preview of it, right? I think this is gonna be really good, bro. We're gonna be able to see Cat versus Wemby, Brunson versus Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox. It's gonna be a good game. The Knicks with their forwards that they have, kind of two-way players, McCall Bridges, OG Anunoby. Josh Hart has been playing great over his last couple
oh
games.
man,
Man, just balling
he's
out,
awesome.
doing the things
He's
that
awesome.
we have been accustomed to seeing Josh Hart do. Getting
Yeah, he's
rebounds,
awesome.
dishing out assists, diving for basketballs. It's just those like little gritty
Other
plays.
Lakers, like,
Another
I
Laker player, bro.
just that like is I imagine if we put Josh Hart on our team now, like we would be so
Good.
much better,
Good.
you
Very
know.
good. He's
And
he's one of
he's
those players,
so
bro.
good.
He's one of those players like like the Marcus Smarts or like the
Right. Crusoe, like you
Lou
always, yeah,
Dort,
bro.
Caruso, like those type of players.
Energizer bunnies. That's what they're called. Them Energizer bunnies. Yep.
So yeah, no, bro. I think this might be probably one because who'd y'all play in y'all's final?
We played. I am drawing a blank because we
What
beat.
was it
We
the
didn't.
did y'all beat the
It was we
Bucks?
beat the Pelicans and then was it the Bucks?
Did they go back to back?
I think it was, yeah, because Darvin Ham. You're right.
Darvin
We beat the Bucks and then the Bucks won.
and then
Yeah,
Darvin Ham went
I
to
was
the
gonna say
Bucks.
the Bucks, but I was like, nah, did they go? They
They
did
did.
though.
They went back
They
to
did.
back. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Lakers, Bucks, Thunder, Bucks, and then Spurs, Knicks. Yeah, man. I think this might be. Obviously, we ended up I think we didn't get blown out, but we lost kind of bad against
Like
that.
14.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
14, something like that. But Yeah, no, I think this has the writing to be probably one of the, I mean, if not the best. There's only been two other ones previous to
Three,
this, so
yeah.
three including this. Yeah, but I think this can be, bro. I think it's like you said. I don't know if you said it on the pod or if when we were talking. This is kind of like the duality of what NBA Cup is, right? Is it the young team that has a lot to prove to us still, or is it the other roster with older veterans that are kind of, their window for a championship is closing, so
Wait, yeah.
can they win a trophy, right? That's kind of the rumblings of this. So it's dope to see, because I feel like we usually are, whenever we do our previews, right, when we see the groups, what groups are, what teams are in each group, we kind of go through them, this and that. Oh, this young team has a lot to prove. Well, this older team, they're kind of winning now. They might take it a little more serious to try to, win something this year, right? And I think this is going to be a good test for both teams. Knicks are on fire. Brunson's been, dude. I think he's averaging, like you said, like we said it in the preview, but I think he's averaging like 35 in cup games or something like that. Like, he's been balling out. So I think this is a great test for both teams. Man, I think I'm gonna go Knicks, bro. I'm going Knicks in this game, though. I think we're gonna get a
Me
Brunson
too.
burner performance. I think Cat's going.
Well,
It's gonna be one of those performances for Cat, right? It might be a little tough for him going against Wemby, but I think he's going to, hit big shots. OG Ananobi, McCall Bridges, I think, are going to be the X factors for them, though. Josh Hart as well. They have such good, forwards, wing players that are able to two way, can do a little bit of everything. I think that's going to cause a little bit of problems for the Spurs, bro. Obviously, they were able to beat us, but I don't think the Knicks are going to shoot 24% from three. Just the way they've been playing, their offense looks very fluid. Everyone has kind of, they know their role and they know where to. It's not as centric on their starting five as much, but you get so much production from them to where it's like, why would you not start them? I think that's what, Coach Mike Brown has been able to. His offensive scheme has been able to really translate well with them. I think we were saying that in our offseason files, him going there, we didn't know how they was going to be, but when you have one of the best point guards in the league and one of the best centers in the league, top 10 in probably each position, right? It's hard to bet against that, especially what we were able to see what he did with the Kings, not too long ago. I think it translated well for them. And I think this is going to be, their first NBA Cup championship, bro. I think it's going to be a good one. Spurs are going to fight,
yeah.
though. Obviously, they were able to beat, the best team in the league, beat your Lakers as well. So it's looking good for them. I just think the Knicks are just going to be a little too much. I know Wemby's probably going to be on a minutes restriction as well. Are you going to be able to have, four players score 20 plus again? Or are you going to have De'Aaron Fox drop 40 or Wemby drop 30? You know what I mean? You're going to have one of those type of performances from your young guys, which, I don't doubt that they could do that. But, up until this point, they have never really played in
I'm
these
not.
type of
Yeah,
matchups.
exactly.
So it's gonna be interesting to see, bro. I'm going with the Knicks, though. I think, like, you told me earlier, and I'll repeat what you said. Just think they just have a little more to prove. Their window of a championship of winning is a little bit smaller than what the Spurs have. That, like, the Spurs, like you said, have the next 5 years. They have so much to build upon. But Knicks, they have really like 3 years. That they kind of figure out how to win something. So I think they're gonna have a little chip on
Yeah.
their shoulder. Brunson, I think, we talk highly of him. I see people say, like, oh, he won't be able to lead them to this and lead them to that. Well, he led them to NBA Cup Finals, so that's something. And I think he's gonna let you know who he is. And if they win, and he's probably gonna get the NBA Cup MVP. So go
No
for the
doubt.
Knicks. Go Knicks, man.
Yeah, I'd go Knicks. That's rare for me, man. I don't like the Knicks or the Spurs,
Yeah,
but
either team. I don't.
yeah, man. But nah, for sure, I'm going with the Knicks. I think Cup. I think first team, probably the All NBA Cup team, probably gonna look like Shea, Luca, Brunson, Castle.
Mhm.
For me, last guy might go to De'Aaron Fox, man, just for what he's been able to do. I mean, the game he had against the Thunder was huge, and then pretty much without Wemby,
Mhm.
him and Castle are pretty much the reason why they're there. I think
Mhm.
Wemby had a great game against the Thunder. Obviously, he's the reason why they're in the final two, but didn't really play the games in the cup in the
Right.
like any he didn't really play in the cup, so it's not really gonna be like that. But yeah, you're gonna watch some great basketball. I think Brunson Castle will be on the all cup playoff like all cup team, which will be interesting. I think Castle, he's the X factor. If he can get you 30, it'll be a different conversation.
Hmm.
If not, I don't know if Vassell and Keldon are gonna do that. So I think Wemby's gonna have a good game. He's gonna drag Cat out from the paint, which is gonna be tough. But I think the Knicks got this one, man, and I'm excited to see that matchup tomorrow. It's the only game tomorrow, so
Hmm.
easy to lock in on, and we'll be in and out in a hurry.
Oh
But
yeah,
you
yes
got
sir.
anything else for the people, man?
No, man. I know I was talking mess about the Spurs a little bit. Almost had a little slip up. Was about to say something crazy, but like I said,
Yeah,
hats off to them, bro. Played a great game. Like I said, Mitch Johnson, he's doing an incredible job. Honestly, I'll give him that. Especially the big shoes that he's having to fill for Pop. Obviously, probably the greatest coach I've seen play, maybe, if not the greatest coach in NBA history.
yeah, no doubt.
Depending on who you ask, right? Obviously, Phil Jackson's up there, but I think it's one of those seeing what they've been able to do, what they've been able to build on these past couple seasons. It's great to see that as a basketball fan, as a Thunder fan. You know how I feel about that already. I don't need to repeat myself, but excited for this, man. I feel like it gives a casual fan that doesn't watch, every 26 games that have been played for each team or whatever, 25, whatever it is. My homie that I pulled up on actually, he said, "This is the first Spurs game I've watched all year." And I'm like, it's kind of crazy. But it's just like that, it puts them on a stage, gives them a spotlight to highlight a lot of these up and coming rising stars in this league. And I love it, bro. I think one question I want to ask, because I didn't bring it up, NBA, semis and finals. Obviously, you're on a neutral court. What do you think about that, bro? How do you feel about the that? I guess I'll say how I feel after you say how you feel.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I mean, we spoke about it a little bit, but I think it hurts the atmosphere a little bit just because people don't really care. And I said it looks like the bubble. It's just dead and black in there, but does it impact the players? Not necessarily, but I think it more for like the viewership and the fans. I think it could be better to have it at home and away. Just it would be they'll have to figure out a way to decide that. Obviously, utilize the standings. The final might be neutral, like you said when we had that conversation. But I think I think for me, it's more about like the actual game, which I get why the NBA is like, well, like it's just we just need the final to happen. But you got to think about like how to grow the game and like a little. You have to think a little bit deeper. And I,
Mhm.
I think the courts, by the way, were a disaster this year.
Yeah, I didn't like him.
Slippery as hell. Like they look ugly as hell.
Hurt my
Like
eyes and shit.
yeah, it's like some of that stuff needs to go,
Yeah.
Like so I think you asked a good question, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Obviously, in that semis, like get big plays, get a dunk or a big stop. It's you're in Vegas, right? So you might have some true fans go to those games, but obviously not a whole arena full of fans for that one team, right? If Lou Dort shoots a three, you hear Lou. You know what I'm saying? It's like the environment. I think that's why I brought it up because seeing that game and seeing what it turned into, I think obviously home court advantage makes a huge difference in any sport, right? So I think leading up into until the final, I think that's it should be home and away, and then base it off of obviously your record is your seed essentially, right? And then off of that, point differential is how you determine if both team was 4-0, right? Group winners from A and C, but a group winner of A score point differential was plus 50. Okay, well you get home court up until the final where that's a neutral site. I'm fine with that, but I think those semifinal games, bro, just would have meant a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like just imagine if the Spurs would have did this in Paycom Center, or if it would have even been like that. I think it just adds a little bit more of a it's already right. Point differential is a huge thing for that to win your group, but it just adds a little bit more. So I'm with you, bro. I agree. It just I get it, right? You know, it kind of puts it into a finals like environment, right? You have all these press conferences and it gives you that vibe because I think the Thunder said that actually that going to the NBA Cup final last year kind of prepared them for what the finals was going to be cuz you know, not as much media, right? Cuz the finals is the top of the mountain. This is where everyone tries to get to, but it kind of prepared them a little bit. I think I remember seeing J-Dub say that actually. So, you know, people might not think, you know, these games matter, but they do, bro. Like, you know, they're trying to get that 500K right for each player, and you know that's you know obviously life changing money for anybody, but for you know these rotational players that you know 2-way contracts are on the roster able to get that
Yeah,
type of
them
it
guys
just
need
means
it,
it
bro.
means a little more, you know. So you know
Oh yeah.
I prefer it leading up to the finals to be home court advantage. You know, I like that. But other than that, man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this NBA Cup so far and what everything was. That like you said, the courts were ugly, but I get it, right? Trying to make it feel a little more special. But I don't know, like those courts just make it they look like if we had like a pro am team on 2K and we're like, hey, let's make a
Yeah,
crazy
like
court.
a
You know, like
2K design a court. Yeah, bro.
exactly.
Like I'm like, what is
Like,
this?
let's
But I was
go
gonna say, bro, last thing, Dynasty. I
Dynasty.
was thinking, I was like, man, what if we had an NBA Cup for that? Like
Ooh,
you take like the top best teams that have, like through 4 weeks.
right,
Like it's not me. I would have lost probably, but
right,
like somebody can win. Like you're basically the NBA Cup is like the mid-season champion.
exactly.
Basically.
Mid season at the beginning of the season. I
Not
guess.
like
Yeah,
early season,
right.
mid-season.
Quarter
Yeah.
season, I guess.
Yeah.
But no,
But
yeah,
you dubbed, right? I got killed, bro.
you went against your
I
brother,
put up
right?
like yeah, I put up like 340 points. The way that the schedule worked kind of it hurts you a little bit because the amount of games that your player has does matter.
Mm-hmm.
And last week was such a weird week because the cup that I didn't have any guys play. Like this week, I have Fox plays 4 times, but um, I lost 344 to 434. He almost beat me by 100 points. But Edgecombe and Cooper Flag were my top players. Edgecombe had like 44,
Mm-hmm.
Chet had 48, Flag had 51 points. Feeling pretty good. Now I'm
Yeah,
3-5,
I would say
number 8.
how you feel about your season? Are you comfortable with being where you're at? Or are you because I know you told me that you were gonna sell. Obviously, you've gotten a couple dubs within the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I've gotten a few dubs. I've
So
gotten a few dubs.
is that just like your players just balled out and you're like, oh, I'll take it type of thing, or
Yeah,
how you going
I
about the
think
season? I guess.
where I'm at is like if we play good, we play good. But like more often than not, we're not gonna be able to compete, and
Right.
that's okay. Like if I get a week where I boom, okay, cool. Like I'll take it. I'll take the win. But as you guys can see, like it's been 8 weeks already.
Hmm.
I only have 3 wins, and I think it goes to show you guys just how difficult it is. And I think I play well, but like I don't have any control over how my guys are doing or I go up against.
Hmm.
But I think for this year, it's just I just had a tough schedule, and
Hmm. Like
I'm not
starting the
playing.
year.
Yeah, starting the year, and I'm not playing. I'm not playing for a playoff spot or anything. I think where I'm at, I have a top 4 pick as of now.
Hmm.
That's valuable. It's
Yeah.
really valuable. And my team is a lot better than like what my
Your
record
record.
says, I think. Yeah, because like we have like you're saying, like my team can beat you.
Hmm.
Like we can. Reed Shepard, Fox, and like Edgecombe and Flag and
MPJ.
Bailey. I traded MPJ, but
Oh, you did.
um, yeah,
Oh, to your brother,
my
right?
brother, yeah, my brother has him.
Got you. That's right. My fault.
No, but point is we're good, man. Like I'm cooling. I don't mind. I think my brother's number one in the other league
He
or the
is.
other
We have the same record. He
conference.
just has more points scored than me right now.
Right. So I mean, losing to that, like, what can I really do about that? But I gave it my best shot. I've been having fun. I'm looking forward to getting a good pick and somebody that I know is going to be young and hopefully be a good piece for my team. And having to rebuild around Cooper Flag is really cool because he's so young. Like I don't, any great performance he has, I'm just like, oh, he's 18. So like this was
This
like
is
this
only the
isn't even
beginning. Yeah.
like scratching the surface.
Hmm. Yeah. No.
Like
Yeah. But
I'm sure. Like I'm sure he'll be like like he's not gonna be Jokic, but he's gonna get you 50, 60 points on a consistent basis. Like that's how I see Cooper Flag being, and that's all I need.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. That's a perfect building block, bro. Honestly, for you, like obviously getting that high pick, trading up, and then ended up trading your pick to get a lot of assets for this upcoming future. Like that might save like your dynasty for the future. You know what I mean? I think it will, and I think you'll reap the benefits of that this upcoming draft. But I ended up was on a 2-game losing streak, boys, heading into this week. Think I was projected to win, and then they flexed that Lakers game. And obviously, the person I'm going against has Luca. My shout out to I ended up winning. Sorry, this week 457 to 407. Shout out to Pobre Tomate. Had Westbrook with that vintage 30
Cooking, bro.
or 20-point triple
Cooking.
double. Ended up getting him
Cooking.
76 points. So that was off rip. I think that was Monday because that was the last time we were
Yeah.
on the pod. I told you I'm gonna have to have Derek Queen go crazy, bro. My team right now has a lot of injuries. I was out Franz Wagner, um, I'm sorry, Sabonis and Bilal, who's kind of not, you know, whatever. But Sabonis, Franz Wagner, Sabonis has been injured for the past 4 weeks for me, so that's not that big. But Franz, obviously, what he's been able to do for me, getting 40, 50 points on a pretty consistent basis, that was a huge injury that I was having to deal with. Stephon Castle, though, bro, against the Lakers, got me 49 points. Nikhil Alexander Walker, that's been one of my biggest pickups this season. I think, didn't think he'd be going this crazy. The man's averaging like 20 something points, this over the past like 10 games. So he's been balling out. He ended up getting me 33. Shea got a little too greedy. He got me 54 points against the Suns. I thought he was going to have another one of those type of games against the Spurs. Only ended up giving me 42. Denny, bro. Denny. He's probably been my best player this season, honestly. Consistently, hasn't been injured, knock on wood. Ended up getting me 49 points against the Warriors. Julius Randle, bro. That's something for me. I hold my head high on that. Like I feel like you said, it's not about your first 3 picks, right? Those are kind of solidified players that you expect to do well. It's like that 5 to 8 spots that you can really win championships. And I think I ended up getting Denny and Julius Randle around that time. I'm pretty sure. Maybe Denny was in the 3rd round, but just the leaps that they've both had this season, crazy. Julius Randle ended up giving me 52 points. OG Anunoby, he's a player that has been in and out of my lineup all year. Ended up getting me 50 points against the Magic. Nas Reed, bro. Like I said, so many injuries where I've kind of had to stay, keep it on the waiver wire. He's been one of those players. He got me 48 points this game, but it's one of those, he's kind of streaky, so I got to kind of pick and choose when I have him in my lineup. And more than likely, if I had my full healthy roster, he probably wouldn't have been. But perfect spot starter for me in this week, got me 48 points. Derek Queen, bro. Derek Queen. That was one of the rookies I drafted this year. Ended up getting me a 30-point triple double against the Spurs, which gave me 74 points. He was projected to get 34, so just blew that number out the water. That's really why I won this week, honestly, because if I would have just had all my other players, do what they usually would do, definitely would have lost. So shout out to Derek Queen. Ended up getting me a 30-point triple double, going against someone that had Russ who got a 20-point triple double. So it's dope to see that. And then Kobe White, bro. He's been kind of in and out of my lineup all year. Pretty consistent scorer. It's just one of those when he plays or if he plays, right? Ended up getting me 41 points. And then my last utility player I had, bro, it was super streaky because I it's usually Klingon, AJ Mitchell. I picked up Peyton Watson off the waivers as well. He's been pretty good for me, but had Cason Wallace. Has been kind of inconsistent. I should have locked in his 33 points, but like I said, I thought he was gonna show out for the final. Only ended up giving me 19 points, but just at this point for me, bro, I feel like started the season off really hot, 5-0. Went on a 2-game losing streak, able to get this dub. So now I'm 6-2. I'm just surviving, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I'm comfortable with that. Obviously, it sucks being in a situation where your best players aren't playing, but I feel like I've done a good job of drafting, deep into the draft and even, picking up players off of the waiver that, I see that are, slowly trending upwards. I think I've done a pretty good job. So, but my schedule's tough. I'm going against, who am I going against this week? Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
for
going
sure.
against Ari this week, who's
Yeah.
5-3. So my schedule the last 4 weeks, bro, have been super tough. So if I can just survive, maintain that, as long as I can maintain a playoff spot at this point, got a little overzealous in the beginning. Oh, has there ever been a team that went undefeated all season? This and you know what I mean. So got a little
Yeah.
got a little too
Like,
big headed, but I think I feel like I can compete, bro, and that's all that I can ask for at this point. First year doing fantasy basketball, starting to get the hang of it now. 6 games in, or 8 games in, I have 6 dubs. I think I'm in a good spot, bro. I think I can compete for the playoffs. Obviously, we brought him up. Bobby Bro's just been running stuff this whole league. He's 8-0, so I think he's definitely the team to beat. He doubled my score last time when I played against him. He had like 500 points. I had like 240, 260, something like that. So just he's a team to beat. He drafted very well. It has Jalen Johnson, Tyrese Maxey, Cade. Those players get you 70 points in a week more than likely. So it's hard to compete against that. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see what it looks like, bro. I like my chances. If as long as I can survive, bro, that's all I'm waiting for. I think it's one of those teams, right, that gets a big injury, loses one of their best players in the middle of the season, kind of maintains where they're at in the standings, gets to the playoff, have a full healthy roster. That could turn your season around. So that's kind of where I'm kind of at with my team. I feel like unless I make a crazy trade or if I see something that piques my interest, I don't think I'm gonna be making that much moves. I'm gonna have to drop players whenever my other players come back from IR, so I'm gonna have to think about that, right? So, and I'm in a decent spot, not too complacent, right? But I think I'm just waiting for my players to get fully healthy. So excited, bro. It's each these past couple weeks for me, I've been sweating. I'm not gonna lie, like specifically this past week, because like I said, I didn't realize that the Lakers were gonna get a flex game. So I'm like, fuck, bro, Luke is probably gonna go off. I expected at this point, like it's to be expected, and he ended up not having the greatest fantasy game per se, but. I'll take the dub, bro. Like you said, just
right.
get the dubs when you can, and yeah, my motto for this year is just survive. You know what I mean? My schedule started off pretty easy. Now it's getting to the nitty gritty. So we'll see what it looks like this time next week, bro. Hopefully I end up getting another dub, go to 7-2. But until then, man, it's just waiting for my players to get fully healthy. And I think once they do, I think I could compete for a championship. And that's all I can ask for. So can't
Yeah, man.
complain.
There you go. Yeah, brother. Well, yeah, I don't got much. Just watch the game tomorrow, and
Hmm.
this one will come out after the game is over. So hopefully we'll see who wins. Hopefully go Knicks.
Go Knicks, yeah.
CJ and I will be watching that one. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. It's gonna do it for the boys over here at Three Man Weave. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys next time, man. Peace.
Peace. Three
Three
man,
man,
three
three
man, three
man.
man, three man.